Hello, my beautiful friends, and welcome back to Beautifully Broken. My name is Sabby, and if you don't know who I am, I started a YouTube channel called Beautifully Broken over a year ago, where I started giving tips, guidance, tools, and knowledge on how we can better understand ourselves, our past and present stories, and in doing so, we can help heal our mental health. I help others gain a deeper understanding of themselves so that they can heal what needs to be healed in order to move forward into a happier sense of self. I believe that in looking back at the traumas, emotional wounds, and old narratives we carry, that we learn what needs to be healed in order to better our mental health. Welcome back, everyone, to Beautifully Broken. Today, I have an awesome interview with a girl I've known for a very long time. Her name is Alyssa Rose. I've known her for, how long has it been?
About 11 years.
11 years, and we've stayed in contact on and off. And today she'll be talking about her journey.
Thank you. Thank you for having me. It was really cool to reconnect with you all these years on Instagram and to see how you just evolved and grew. And yeah, it's been exciting to follow and watch. And
Thank
so
you
thank
so
you for
much.
having me. You know, life growing up as a young girl in this society and in California is very difficult, especially for girls going through puberty and trying to figure out who you are. So I wanted to come on to just give some voice and some support to girls going through those really difficult times and to show that we have all, in the past, a lot of the times it was girls growing up, they kind of have this false image that they want to, that they think they have to live up to online. And it's such a dangerous place
Mhm.
because it's so manipulated
Mhm.
and it's not real. Without there being much knowledge of the internet, 15 years ago,
Mhm.
girls were kind of left to just this false ideal and standard because
Mhm.
we didn't know about everything being photoshopped and everything being accentuated to the way where it's not reality and it's not attainable in a maybe in a healthy way. And so I think I kind of fell down that path of just, that was where you find your self-worth because you see that being so rewarded and celebrated,
Yeah.
but you don't look internal, you don't see the person who they are inside, and you don't know what they're going through. And so when I was a young teenager, I was really confused and fixated on those false ideals.
Mhm.
And I think and
When
my
did
mom
it
was
start? Yeah. When did it? Was there anything that triggered you as a young adult, like a teenager? That.
Yeah, I mean, so my mom had a tumor on her thyroid and it was benign, and I was 15 years old. And I remember my parents didn't tell me. They wanted to, hide me from that because I was going through school and they didn't want to, disrupt my learning. And so my mom just was going to the hospital.
Mhm.
And I was really confused because I was thinking, why is she going to the hospital? And then they kind of told me, oh, she has to have surgery because she has a tumor.
Mhm.
And you don't figure out that it's benign or malignant until she's on the operating table and they do a biopsy. And thank God it was benign. But my mom really didn't want to go on any hormone medicine. She wanted go all natural. So she started doing a pH balanced diet,
Mhm.
which was it helped actually regulate her. And her doctor, her endocrinologist, he was really amazed at her progress and how she didn't have to go on to her thyroid medication because she was regulating herself really well
Yeah.
and was watching everything and watching her levels. And I wanted to connect with her, and I started doing that with her.
Mhm.
But I was being really extreme in that because also started to get I also started to get a lot more attention in high school
Mhm.
from the popular girls,
Yeah.
And they're like, started to ask me to hang out with them on the weekend. And they started to want to know, what I was doing. I was thinking, I don't know what I'm doing. I guess I'm just being healthy. I'm not, eating whatever. I'm being really, really, I thought I was being super healthy.
Mhm.
But then it started to get to the point where I wasn't being healthy. I was being extreme in it.
Mm.
And I would start to say, oh, I really want that attention from those girls, which is really devastating because I think that is a lot of girls. They want that acceptance
Yeah.
in high school, like, oh, that's the end all be all. I want that acceptance. And it kind of spiraled down from there. And, I went to a really good school in that um, they started to intervene, like my teachers. They
Mhm.
started to have like heart to hearts with me, which was really cool,
Yeah.
because my teachers were really amazing, and it was first name basis, and they would take me aside, say, hey, let's talk. I see that you are, because I think I wasn't even overweight to begin with.
Yeah.
I was, fine. I was really fine. And then I lost maybe 10 pounds or so, 15, and they noticed
Mm.
and they got really concerned for me. And I was kind of thinking, yes, but I'm getting this attention from, my peers, and I feel really healthy. But then I guess I just started to realize that I was becoming uh, fixated on it,
Mhm.
and I probably had all this stress from my mom going through her thyroid surgery, and I being at that young age, you don't realize that you are so stressed
Yeah.
and you just think it's normal. And
Mhm.
so I think that's how I dealt with it. And I think that's how I have dealt with stress continuing on, is just kind of like, that's the way I can, relieve
Control.
myself and control exactly something that may be outside of you. And so I look for now outlets, whereas in the past, I wasn't looking for outlets. I was thinking I can do anything if I just have this little bit of control. Everything around me that's out of my control is fine. As
Yeah.
long as I have this little control. But but no, I had a really great support system. But then when I left for college, I fell back into that because I was
Mm.
so overwhelmed with school. And I just remember being in my dorm, always feeling alone, because I wasn't into drinking and I wasn't into going to the parties. I was more so just like wanting to connect and also just trying to figure out who I am
Mm.
and feeling really nervous. And so I would just be in my room and just be kind of alone and feeling really, yeah, alone. And would just think about my mom, and I would think about my family in San Diego and and I was always thinking, oh, they're probably doing amazing things, as a family. And here I am in my dorm by myself. And so I think I kind of became really stressed in that moment too, in those moments. And it was also another, anxiety and stressful experience. But then I started to seek out the mental health services at
Mm.
college. And I had a really nice counselor. She was going through her MBA, I believe. And so she had to do some of her residencies at the colleges.
Yeah.
And so she was really cool. She was really nice. And she would walk me through just what I was going through. But it was hard for me to see myself. It
Mm.
was kind of hard to to dive into it because
What
that's also stressful.
yeah, what pushed you to actually reach out to the mental health services? Like, what kind of triggered you to go, okay, I need to talk to someone about what's going on?
Yeah, feeling alone and and I know I had a friend at school, and she was also, she was on a different path, and of just like, finding herself and understanding what was going on. And she had mentioned that, I think what happened was she had mentioned that her Spanish teacher noticed that she wasn't going to school.
Yeah.
And so then she said, can you believe that my counselor is talking to my Spanish teacher? And I was thinking, that's so awesome. Like everyone's looking out for you. That is so cool.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, I feel so like no one even knows I'm here, you know? So like, because I went to such a small high school, and then going to our college, even though it was a small college, it was still really big for me.
Yeah.
And I was thinking, wow, maybe I don't have to feel so alone. I can find that service. So I went to the mental health service, which was in the nurse's office.
Mm-hmm.
And I was nervous. And I remember just thinking, they're going to be here as just my support.
Yeah.
And it became really something I really looked forward to. I couldn't wait every Wednesday. I remember just going right after lunch. I would walk over, and I was always I was able to be heard and feel comfort and feel, that I do have a support team there. And I don't have to feel alone,
Mm-hmm.
and I don't have to try to fit in anymore. Like I want to be my own person, and it's okay. And actually, I stopped hanging out with a group of my friends because I was thinking, I love them, but I need to find myself.
Yeah.
And I need to just be by myself, and I need to be with, people who, my friends were so understanding, I had really great friends, but I kind of became a loner.
Yeah.
And I would go to the library, and then I would go to my counselor, and I started to feel, even though I was not going with, I didn't really hang out with friends anymore as much as I would, even though it wasn't that much, but I kind of just started to do my own thing and rebuild myself and build myself in a healthier way where I felt really good about myself.
How did you start to do that? Like, did you have any habits that you adopted, or?
I would go to the library, and I remember how I would do this. I would go really early in the morning, and you had to go really early to get a private office.
I remember that. Yeah.
Yeah. And so I would go really early because there's this one that I really loved and everyone else loved. And so you had to get there at like 6 a.m. to reserve it.
Hang on. I think
upstairs.
Yes. That was like the spot to be. You were like, anytime for studying for anything. And actually, I think a few times I would go up there and you'd be in there already. Like,
I think so. Oh my God.
Yeah. I was like, oh, she's already in there. And then I'd just like turn around and walk away.
No, you could have come in. No, but that was my safe space. I would just go to the library and just dive into my studies. And I started to really study philosophy. And it kind of got me out of my skin. Like, who are we? All those existential questions. And then I just became I became a lot more in love with myself. I started to like myself, and to love myself, and to not have to feel like I had to prove myself. And it was really scary because I felt, well, if I'm going to start, saying no to going with my friends, I'm going to feel, everyone is going to be mad at me and everything. But it wasn't the case. Everyone was like, oh yeah, cool. You do whatever you need to do. Who cares? We'll see you soon.
Yeah, you basically found your identity through studying. I mean, through finding something you were passionate about. And I think that's beautiful. And you mentioned not feeling like you don't have to prove yourself. Was there any particular instance where that that idea in your head of needing to prove yourself, did it come from outside sources, other girls? Did you ever compare yourself to other girls, like, in your identity, and how did you work through that?
I have a sister-in-law who is a supermodel. And I just remember thinking, oh, I'm never going to be like that, but I was just thinking, wow, like how, I think it was she who I kind of like idolized in a little way. And I was thinking, oh my gosh, that's so amazing. And then not ever being up to that standard, and just never being that. And just realizing that's okay, but that took me a lot of like almost grief within myself of finding this idolized viewpoint and knowing that is not a reality of just like, this grandiose, incredible, whirlwind of a life of, solely based on your aesthetic. So I I started to really fall in love with my thinking and my conversations, and then being able to kind of strip away all of that and not feel like, I mean, I think it's so wonderful that she was able to do something like that and so empowering. But for me, I started to just not, I think was able to do was go outside of my dorm without putting on makeup.
Mm,
Like something so easy as easy quotation marks as that, like leaving my dorm without makeup and going to the library or going to the cafeteria. And like that was so huge for me because it was like my mask, from the world. And I think that helped me kind of chip away at that artificial reality I was trying to so hard make into a reality
Yeah.
of like of this I don't know, of this world of just a facade,
Yeah.
And I think once I started to really be okay with that is when I was able to go for deeper things and just like have conversations with people about going deep, And my brother is so good at that. Like he doesn't know how to have a friendly, like a just like
Small
a
talk.
yeah, he can't have small talk. And I think he really taught me how like that's okay not to have small talk. Go deep,
Yeah, it's better because how do you get to know someone authentically if you can't dive deep and relate to them in that way? And did you ever have, I know I have this, I don't know if you ever went through this, but that feeling of feeling misunderstood because your mind understands things in such a different way than other people. So when you have a conversation with someone and it's just very surface level, it can feel quite isolating. Did you ever experience that?
Yeah, you feel almost like you want to just you want to feel that person.
Yeah.
I yeah, absolutely. And it's so difficult.
Yeah.
And it's even more difficult to have small talk
Mm-hmm.
because you're like, oh, I wish I could ask this question. I wish I could, have this conversation because I know we can have it. But sometimes you have to just be okay with it because everyone's going through their own thing. And you only do whatever makes other people comfortable. You don't want to be like, hi, I'm going to go really deep right now. I know you just want to talk about the weather, and that's okay though. Because then they're going to be like, oh my gosh.
Yeah, that's exactly it. So it seems like in college you just really dove in and found your authentic self and more than self-acceptance, like self-love. And I think that is truly just beautiful. Did it have to do with some of the body dysmorphia and extreme eating habits? Because I know you mentioned that in Whittier you were super stressed and you're like, okay, and when you resorted back to like an old habit of yours that felt comfortable. Did you overcome that in Whittier or was that later on?
Yeah, I think it always, those types of situations, I think for myself, they kind of stay dormant.
Yeah.
And whenever but my counselor gave me really good ways to recognize and to kind of just, see it as its own separate entity within me of this extreme measure to take before anything goes too haywire.
Yeah.
And for example, like she said, if you want to feel in control, maybe go for a run. So I started to really or go for a brisk walk, like she says, just take a walk around the campus and just breathe and just like be really, really in tune with how you're breathing. And it's kind of like a meditation, like how you're breathing, what your body feels. Do you feel the wind? Like she used to really have me become really self-aware. And I think that helped me become more in tune with myself and dealing with that stress. Okay, I see the stress. Now, how am I dealing with it right now before I, you know, before I can, before I do something that could be bad, like, because I would fast or I would do things that I would feel in control of just, my intake. And it was really, it was almost like my way of dealing with a stressful situation was like giving me more stress, it's so, but she gave me a lot of just points of putting myself in a good space of walking and breathing and feeling that motion, getting out of my skin
Mm.
and leaving my dorm room, as much as I liked studying in my room, that's why I would go to the library. Like leave that environment that
Mm.
you might be feeling is closing in on you.
Yeah.
Because that could be that first step is it could be really good just in leaving the environment in what you in that you feel that those emotions start to come, or that stress or that overwhelm of just of life. So I would just leave. I would force myself to pack my bags and leave.
Yeah.
And it felt really good. Okay, pack my bags, I'm going to go to the library. And I would get there and I felt really good and
Yeah.
renewed. Okay. And so I would just take action steps
Mm-hmm.
and just kind of get out of my head. Don't think about it. Just get out of my head.
Yeah.
And that helped, because our thoughts are so powerful.
Mm.
And if you think and think and think, you can talk yourself into or out of anything.
Yes. Yeah. 100%. Yeah.
And so I was thinking, oh gosh, I'm in a spiral right now. I'm going through this, emotional roller coaster. Leave,
Yeah.
change the environment, and then start that new headspace in a different place.
Mm.
And I think that really helped me.
Yeah. That's a lot of self-awareness, like at a younger age. I think that's beautiful. It's amazing. Not a lot of people can do that. Um, some people can't, if you get into those downward spirals, you have a difficult time like stepping out of yourself and going, okay, this is what I'm feeling. Cool. How do I come out of this? And I think that's amazing. Because you, like you said, even just going for a walk or stepping outside for a second can change that headspace of control. And with control, it's oftentimes anxiety. It's just anxiety is you feeling unsafe, and then as a response your body tries to control something because it doesn't know what else to do.
Mm-hmm.
When we feel out of control, so as you said, like that sort of issue that you've been dealing with your whole life and still do, has social media made it worse for you, or did it make it worse for you when it became more prominent later on?
Yeah, it's so interesting. I remember in high school, or now thinking back in high school, like, thank God social media wasn't as
Yes. Yeah.
because wow, I remember I had a live journal in high school and that was it. And I know everyone was starting to create their Facebooks,
Mhm.
or not Facebooks, their MySpaces.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Yeah. And I
Yes, my
remember
young listeners, we came from the MySpace generation. That's where we came from.
yeah. And I remember just thinking like, if I had any more stress other than my top 5 people on my MySpace, remember how you had to like select
Yes.
your top 5 and it would cause drama, like what
Oh,
moving from her first place, or
yeah.
so crazy. But now I'm thinking, oh my gosh, all those like all these apps and all these social media outlets, all these things for young girls is so frightening. And I have a young daughter, and I'm thinking, how is it going to be when she's 15?
Yeah.
She's I'm so protective of her, and I want her to stay, kind of I don't want her to be as sheltered, but I want her to be in a place where she can handle it.
Yeah.
And because if I shelter her, it's just going to prolong the inevitable.
Mhm.
But I think, giving her the constant affirmation of she's strong and powerful and beautiful and she can do anything,
Mhm.
I think she can be ready to face those, the world of the internet
Yeah.
and of social media. But for me, on Instagram, I have unfollowed a lot of things that felt very triggering to me. Um, but I do follow really great body love and kindness and just like really great
Mhm.
influencers that are very vulnerable. And
Mhm.
I'm like really amazed like they can be so vulnerable.
Yeah.
And I kind of had chosen who I follow, and that's really difficult to do too because it's kind of like a drug.
Yeah.
Social media is a drug, and it is the same, you know those same centers in your brain go off when you scroll, and when you check your notifications. It's like you're getting your hit
Yeah.
of dopamine, and it can be really scary to unfollow because you're thinking, oh no, I'm losing all of, but then you think, why am I following things that are just making me feel like I have to compare, or I have to, you know, I keep looking at these posts that aren't giving me happiness, but they're giving me a sense of more like an insecure feeling, and
Mm-hmm.
that shouldn't be, you know. And so I have unfollowed a lot, and I have a really wonderful friend who said, Alyssa, I'm gonna take your phone and we're gonna unfollow people who are making you feel stressed, and make, because when I was a new mom, oh, it was so hard, you know.
Yeah.
And then I was saying, oh my gosh, these women, they're amazing and they're doing all this and they have a newborn and they can do all these incredible things. And here I'm like, wow, you know. And so my neighbor, who turned into my really wonderful friend, she would come over and we would just like, she would come over and be my, she was just my confidant. And so she would come over, bring me tea. She's from Macedonia, so she would always bring me these beautiful teas,
Okay.
and we would just talk and we would just have heart to hearts, and she would help me. She said, "Oh,
Mm.
Lisa, you need to get rid of like these. This is not real. And if it's real, then they probably had 20 women behind them helping them. This is, you know, like, you're
It's
by yourself."
true. We
Yeah.
don't we don't like realize that like everything is filters now. Like it's not, social media is not real, and all the young girls that like look at these pictures and compare them to, even like I do it too, I'm guilty of it. It was my platform. I see other people, blowing up and becoming big, and I'm standing there going, oh my god, no. Like everyone does it. So social media is crazy. But as a young woman, looking at other women who look a certain way, or they were pregnant and had a newborn, all of a sudden they're in like really good shape, and you're going, what the heck? Like, oh my god, I feel terrible. And, like, I don't even have kids, and I look at that and I'm like, oh my god, I'm like, I need to go to the gym. But same thing, I had to unfollow it because that's not healthy.
Mhm.
So how did you, when you were pregnant, did you find that it was a lot more stressful for you at that time? Like,
Actually, no. You know, it's so interesting. And my husband always says, Elisa, act like you're pregnant always, because you're the healthiest. You are the most just positive about yourself,
mm,
because the way I feel when I'm pregnant is my body is not mine anymore.
mm,
It is now for that baby. So
yeah,
anything I do is for that baby. And I'm going to put myself and on the side, and I'm just going to do whatever I can to be the healthiest vessel for that child.
mm-hmm,
And I become a super super, just because it's mind, it's body, it's everything that you're giving to that baby,
yeah,
everything. And so for me, going through pregnancy, even though I do have high risk pregnancies at the end because I have dynamic cervix, I have all these, you know,
yeah.
physical things of just my cervix, not to get too TMI. But before, like in the first and second trimester, I really am healthy and happy, and the hormones feel, you know, you have those feel good hormones of creating a baby, and then you're connecting with this little thing that, you know, is within you, that's yours only for the time, and
Mm,
it's just like a special little thing, big thing. And so everything of my self and of my just, you know, body image and everything kind of goes out the window, and it's just a beautiful experience. And I was so nervous to get pregnant because I was thinking, oh my gosh, now I'm going to be really nervous about, you know, I'm scared. I see all these things like, you know, I was so nervous.
mm,
But then it was almost like something bigger than me, and something that just enveloped me in this positive it's beautiful, you
yeah.
know. And so my husband always says, Elisa, if you just act like you're pregnant for the rest of your life,
Mhm.
it's going to be the best version of yourself.
That's so
Because
true. That's so true. Yeah, that's what it seems like. It's and that was kind of like your aha moment that just happened.
yeah,
Um,
exactly. Yeah. And because it's not about you anymore
mm,
during pregnancy, and it's all about that baby.
yeah.
Yeah.
If there's anyone out there listening any young woman who's, out there listening, or even anyone else, and they are going through exactly what you're going through or had been through, what would you want to tell them?
Oh, well, I always think about my younger self, my the little girl that was 5, and I think about how sweet and special she was and how sweet and special all little 5-year-old little girls are and boys. And to just embrace that little girl that is and to just keep her safe and nourish her and give her that positivity, and just remember that you are that same little girl. You're just, you know, you're older now, but to just realize that we all need that self love and protection and understanding and gentleness that you would give your 5-year-old self. So be that same gentle person to your now adult self. No, I'm really proud of you. And
Thank you.
I love seeing how you've just grown, and you've always been so wise. I always loved our conversations in college, and we used to go really deep.
Yeah.
So we were never small talk girls.
No, I don't think so. Even before we started recording, I was like, "Oh my God, I want to record this because this is just how we were." It's we would never. It was always so deep. Actually, you're the reason I went to the mental health counseling in Whittier. I started going because I was struggling with my own depression. I didn't understand what was happening. And you had said, you went, Sabby, there's someone you can go talk to. And I went, what? I didn't know that. So thank you for that. I really appreciate it.
Well, thank you. You're so wonderful, and I'm really grateful for you having me on here.
Thank you so much for listening, and remember, you have to go through the eye of the storm to see the clear horizon ahead. Thanks so much, guys, and I'll see you next week.